I'd researched all sorts of other conditions from narcissism to Tourette's, autism, but for some reason, whatever reason, I didn't think about bipolar. Just to see that, not just the lows, but the highs must have seemed really strange to people. Like I was on something, but I wasn't. You can get things like hallucinations and also idle thoughts, which I'd never had in my life before. My wife, she saved my life.
If I could give you a pill that took away your ADHD and bipolar, would you take it? We've had such a great response to the podcast, and so many of you have been in touch asking what you can do to help. It's really simple. Just follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That way we can reach more people, and that way we can celebrate these great minds that think differently. Today's guest needs no introduction. Heston Blumenthal is a 3 Michelin-starred chef and creative genius, known for his innovative, playful and multi-sensory culinary experiences. It's kind of no surprise that he happens to be ADHD. Today we hear a different side though, what really goes on inside Heston's mind. He is my hero, and being one of the first to speak to him about his recent bipolar diagnosis felt incredibly special. Let's get into it. Let's see how great minds think differently. Heston Blumenthal, let's dive right in. Tell me about your recent diagnosis.
So my most recent diagnosis was November last year, and I was diagnosed with bipolar type 1.
Can you just explain what the other 2 types of bipolar are?
There's 3 types of bipolar. Bipolar 1, 2, and cyclothymia, which is kind of a mixture of 1 and 2. And the differences between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2, you have high levels of manic mania, which is high energy, foot on the gas, full throttle, and then drop into an angry, deep low, but for a short period of time. Bipolar 2, you'll get the highs. They're hypermania, and they're not as high as in bipolar 1. But the lows, they can last for quite a long time. What happens in bipolar 1, those peaks can go, you stay really high level, and it's like mini rolling hills. So the downs are, you don't even notice them. Everything's up. And the world is so wonderful. But in fact, that's what they call the manic mania stage. One might appear to be okay, but in fact, what it's doing is what goes up has to come down. So it's fueling the fallout. And when the fallout happens, it could be something as simple as you put your Post-it notes somewhere and someone's put them in a drawer. It's really simple. And what happens is the flip between the 2 states in bipolar 1 is a lot faster than the flip between the 2 states in bipolar 2. However, bipolar 2, am I happy I've got bipolar 1 or 2? I've got 1. I think it's been responsible, partly quite responsible, for some of my imagination. So that's the positive side. The negative side, it just crashes really extremely, but doesn't last for too long. You can get things like hallucinations and also suicidal thoughts, which I'd never had in my life before. Melanie, my wife, she saved my life because she could see it coming when I'd go into a stage of immense highs.
And how does that feel, an immense high?
It is like wherever you look, there's beauty. It's like what most people would call the perfect world. And I started dot joining, see things that wouldn't be considered go together. You put them together in a new creative way. And those moments over the past, I think I also understood by revisiting it, things like string theory and relativity and quantum theory. All of these sort of things could happen on a high. When the crash happens, I would break things, but they're my objects. And I suppose it's a bit like you have a child that's overactive, overexcited, and then something goes wrong, and then the child just has a sort of a breakdown.
Yeah, a meltdown.
A meltdown. And it's pretty much akin to that. Certainly now, my highs are less high. My lows are less low, but they seem to last a bit longer. So it's like I might be moving from one to another. I don't know.
Why that shift?
That shift, hospital, all the work done in the hospital, medication, and being aware of the details of bipolar. So me being more aware of my mental state. But before, I had no idea.
Why have you decided to speak up about this now?
Well, it's only 6 months since my diagnosis, although I've had it for years. And looking back, I've had it at least since in my 20s. I can remember moments that I didn't realise that they were there. The diagnosis alerted me to it. And unlike ADHD, it was those thoughts, and they were comfortable with them. It's a weird, really weird thing.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it would be like a slightly pragmatic way of ending it. And I think that's the thing, is the awareness, the hospitalisation and the medication, and also having a wife that's, she saved my life completely.
You got your bipolar diagnosis last year.
Yeah.
You were diagnosed ADHD in 2017. Why in May did you decide to talk about that publicly?
I started by talking out at ADHD UK. They did an online conference. Having understood the effects of ADHD, so how it affects your moods and your behaviour, I'm a known person, and so I've got a platform to speak out about this, because I do want. This is another version of my manic mania. I want to save the world. I do believe that, there are so many people out there with some form of neurodiverse mental condition or bipolar condition, and it affects people really, really heavily. I mean, if you look at all the figures, it's a couple of big reports done recently, levels of suicide, being able to hold down a job or even get a job in the first place. There's a stigma around bipolar and neurodiverse. Bipolar is more clear. ADHD manifests itself in loads of quirky ways. If you meet the others, you meet another with ADHD, and then you can laugh about, when I was a lot younger, I found the dustpan and brush in the fridge.
Yeah.
I found my telephone in the fridge. Only recently, and this is the new calm me, I'm falling back in love with cooking again. So I thought, we're in Provence, live in Provence, I'll make a gazpacho. So I prepared the tomatoes, the cucumber, the red peppers, and a bit of onion, etc., and macerated it in tomato juice. And then I went to put it in the fridge overnight. I turned the oven on for a different preparation. Anyway, I opened the fridge and put it in the oven. It's only when I shut the door I realised that I just turned the fridge into an oven. So those sort of things happen all the time.
Here's one of the world's best chefs
Just
trying to cook gazpacho.
Imagine if I went for a job interview. Oh my word, that would be... there's a couple of others I remember. It's sheer exhaustion before in the duck, just after hours of working. I went once to try and light the blowtorch under a hot tap. So I turned the hot tap on, put the gas on. I remember thinking, I can't possibly light it under a cold tap. Real sort of Alice in Wonderland moment, that one. So I have lots of stories of that. So just finishing off on the speaking out. Just like I have a belief that everyone in the world should have access to drinking water, I think anyone with a neurodiverse or bipolar condition should be able to have a platform, and the workplace also help for that platform, because it's just a different kind of behaviour. And we're in the process of doing that at work now, but that's going to take a bit of time. Bear in mind, I only knew about this in end of last year, and then from about May, started to speak out about it.
And what has the reaction been to that announcement?
The reaction, it's interesting, because the papers published it as sort of without an opinion. They were supportive. I've had a response from Bipolar UK, which I'm doing the forward. I'm going to sign it off today, actually, for They're publishing a massive, I think their biggest survey, so I'm doing it forward for that. I've had several people, not tons, but several people saying you're doing a really great thing. And, it isn't easy, but the want and need to do it is stronger than not. And to be able, because I thought about this, I thought, how would I speak to somebody that's bipolar if I didn't have, or I wasn't aware? And I don't really know how I'd speak to them. So with the stigma of things like this, I'm sure it affects people. It's like, let's say you lose a relative and you haven't seen somebody for a couple of months, or it's pretty recent. A lot of people don't know what to say. When I say sorry, do they say anything? In this case, I don't think silence is golden. And anyone else that thinks they have it or has it, to be able to have a platform to speak up, and connectivity is precious. I think after breathing, drinking, eating, sleeping, it is connection. And it's a very precious thing. If you hold that stuff in, people don't realize that is affecting connectivity. You're in an area where you're just too scared to talk about it.
But you're not scared to talk about it now.
I am. I am. If I said I had no fear, then that's not true. I'm entering into the unknown by coming out. And I'm continuing to stabilize and understand myself more, and then look back at the things. I just massive apologies to anyone that was around me to see that, not just the lows, but the highs must have seemed really strange to people. Like I was on something, but I wasn't.
But did no one point any of those things out to you?
Amazing. That's one thing I forgot. Since the diagnosis, I said to a few people about my having bipolar. I reckon at least a handful to 2 handfuls of people said, yeah, you're the last to know, or something like that. But nobody told me. And I'd researched all sorts of other conditions from narcissism to Tourette's, from autism, OCD. But for some reason, whatever reason, I didn't think about bipolar.
So you're telling me that you feel like you were the last to know that you're bipolar based on what people have told you since you've been diagnosed?
Yes.
I feel sad hearing that.
It's saddening. Because I've got ADHD as well. They don't understand that, like I didn't understand before the diagnosis, what is bipolar and how does it manifest itself. It's easy to put people into a category, and it's a category that has stigma.
50% of the hospitality industry are neurodivergent. Does that ring true for you?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Because with my ADHD, when I was researching that, so that one of the best things you can do for it work-wise is cooking. So I think it gives, with ADHD, I think I need a framework. I'm not OCD, but I need a framework. And I think a lot of these conditions manifest themselves in terms of our relationship with time, our patience levels, wanting to know, people want to know the end result when you're at the beginning. And I never got that because in terms of creativity, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with it if you do? I don't know. Just the freedom of being creative, I think, is really important.
Tell me more then about ADHD and cooking.
So in cooking, in the kitchen, you have something called a mise en place list or prep list. So you write down the jobs you have to do. So I had to come in on Monday to do some prep when the restaurant was closed, just to keep ahead. And it wasn't that busy at the time either. So I would get different coloured chopping boards out, lay them in different places. If there's a particular knife or spoon, I'll put that by the board. I'll go into the shed. I'd get a series of pots and pans and then fill them with the ingredients. You can come back into the kitchen. Kitchen was tiny, by the way, so literally you can reach everything by standing on the spot and turning around. And then I would put all on the go at the same time. If you've got all the right ingredients and you've got the right balls and cutlery and the pan and everything, it's actually really quite easy to then carry on with the recipe.
When I studied at Prue Leith, the bit that I love 2 things massively. One was learning how to chop things in the best way.
Yeah.
And we do that every morning, julienne a carrot, dice an onion and do it to the best possible way, in the most efficient way. That was one thing. And that, you talking about chopping boards and the equipment and the mise en place and the list, all makes sense to me in terms of structure, ritual, organization. And then the other bit was the time planning.
Yeah.
And these are all things, knowing a bit more about ADHD and knowing that whether it's executive functioning or whether it's just people talk a lot in the ADHD space about to-do lists and lists. And the dopamine hit of ticking things off.
Yes.
But removing it out of people's head, and whether that's visually, as you say, in terms of, okay, there's objects that remind me of things I have to do.
Yeah.
Or it's actually a written list.
I think the other thing you touched on, which is really important, is time. And there's a relationship with time. Time itself. In the kitchen, everything it's all about time. And we benefit, I think, from an ADHD point of view, we benefit for having some, like if you drop an anchor, that anchor is time. Then
really focused in the kitchen, actually.
Yeah, very focused.
Tasks, task orientated, deadlines, lists, structure, ritual, repetition.
Yeah, I remember Gary, my head chef at the time, years ago, brilliant. He had, I'm sure, had OCD. Let's say he was making a tomato fondue. So that you take the tomatoes, you plunge them in boiling water to peel them. Then you do every stage by stage. So do that with all the tomatoes, cut them all in half, scoop out the seeds of all of them, carry on like that. So while I was doing my thing, when he finished, because then you have a little wipe down to the next job, he went to take the board into the pot wash. I crossed off the job. The dopamine hit was the cross off. So I stole his dopamine because I thought that was really funny. He has done a few other things to me, by the way. And what he did as a result of that is he put the fork between his teeth and because he knew that makes my teeth water. The thought that the metal scraping against your teeth. Oh my God. So he just stood there and just went scrape, scrape, scrape right next to me.
What other things like that, sensory-wise, make your skin kind of crawl?
Sound is a really massive one. A Harley Davidson going by, because that's I think that's a complete invasion of my hearing. Pot wash in the kitchen, plates and pans being bashed and crashed and bashed. So the restaurants are really quiet. Tell you what, here we go. Here's now moving into slight more rant phase. So one rant. Why does everything beep at us? So whether it's your car, your washing machine, your dishwasher, your oven, maybe your iron.
Your phone, your microwave.
Your phone, the microwave, it doesn't stop. And you think, well, okay, your dishwasher's beeping to say it's finished. Okay, have one beep. Oh no, it just keeps on going. It keeps on going. And then once you try, it's like if I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant, you've already put a tutu on it. So there's quite a few other sound things. Also, lighting. If I'm in a space, it's not as the kitchen is different. If I'm in a space, let's say at home, and the TV might be on, the lights might be on, the table might not be. I'd feel myself getting agitated. So I would just maybe dim the lights, maybe turn the TV off or put it on some, if it's a screensaver or something. If it's winter, I might light a fire and just have that whole space, not spotless, but orderly. The room, the room 2 rooms back or something could be a mess. But that's okay. That's something to deal with. But if it's too cluttered, I can't think that clearly.
What else do you do for your brain?
I've meditated for quite a long time. Actually, I tried about 15 years ago, the first time, and 1 minute seemed like a day. And then I tried all sorts of different forms of meditation and breathing. And in fact, Paul McKenna is a great friend. Oh my word, he's got these, they're amazing. It's binaural recordings of, he's got one to reduce appetite. And it's called the gastric band. So he's introduced it. It talks about and then it's binaural, so it spins around your head, goes in, out, up, down, and then he'll get to the point and say, start counting from 300, 299, 298, here we go. And then you sort of fall asleep and wake up, but you're not really asleep. That's wonderful.
Okay.
What else do I do for my brain?
Exercise?
Yes, I love exercise. Well, I don't always like doing it, but I do it. I think it's the single best thing that I can do. I have a routine now where I wake up in the morning, I brush my gums and teeth and think of my gut, because there's a big, strong connection between the mouth and the gut. And then I hang from the doorframe, fill in a gratitude book, read something out of this Japanese one thought a day, and then I go to the gym.
Okay.
And I don't, also for my brain, telephone's never in the bedroom. I've never done social media in my life. I find it difficult without it.
And what do you do to feed your brain, to nourish your brain from a food perspective?
The biggest thing is mindful eating. So eat much slower. Maybe if it's knife and fork, put it down between bites. But and you can't do this with every mouthful. You can, but I think it's really hard work. You anticipate what you're going to. You do it with a sandwich. So you've got the triangular box with the sandwich in. Let's say it's a cheese sandwich. I think it's the most popular lunch in Britain. So you're anticipating, what does that paper feel like, and the sound with the plastic when you tear it off, and then the touch on your fingers. And when it's happening, you're just being aware of what you're aware of what bits of your body are lighting up. And then as you go to pick it up, you think, how soft is it going to be? You set up expectation. Then smell the crust, smell the dough, and when you start eating, because as we chew, the sugars change, so the saliva in your mouth changes, and the taste, being salt, sweet, sour, bitter, umami, it can go through different. It can seem bitter at some point and sour another, and then a sweetness, which generally when you chew the bread a bit more. So you build up this wonderful story around your eating time.
So much of like looking over your career and the way that your brain works, these themes of, playfulness and childhood and nostalgia and the senses, and obviously all your kind of experiments and creations. How do you look back on that through a lens of ADHD and bipolar?
This could be ADHD combined with bipolar. I need blinkers, like horse blinkers on my eyes if I'm at the supermarket. I'm walking down the aisle and I spot jar after jar, look at the colour red. It's a particular colour because it reminds me of something which would take me off somewhere else. And everything gets really fast. And every single tin, I want to pick a tin up, and I pick that tin up and see what's next to it. And then do I buy it or not? Do I want it or not? Do I need it or not? And if I'm in that mood, I know that I'll end up with a shopping trolley full of completely disparate things, which might also be a possibility for experimentation.
Do you go with a to-do list? A to-buy
Shopping.
list? Yeah.
Always make a to-do list when shopping. Not saying I always stick to it, but at least I make. And also, I know people, even when they don't really know a supermarket, are happy just to go kind of randomly down the aisles.
I don't go to supermarkets anymore. Very rarely.
Oh, by the way, nor do I. I'm just telling you what it was like before.
Yeah, because they're somewhat like an art gallery to me in terms of, wow, there's so much to look at and so much to be distracted by. They're not great financially because I will buy things that I don't need or didn't go there to buy. And they're quite a sensory onslaught, of people and noise and lights. And it's pretty full on. Tell me about the week that you got your third Michelin star.
So I didn't know what date the Michelin Guide was coming out. I certainly didn't expect the third star. So I wasn't actually waiting for the third star. I just got past the phase where I was comfortable that we'd keep the second star. I went and did a congress called Madrid Fusion, which is probably the biggest gastronomic congress in the world. And I did my demo. First time I presented using a distillator, liquid nitrogen, flavour pairing, all these things that no one's seen before. Anyway, I finished, got a standing ovation. Michel Roux was in the front row, said I'm like a son to him. After that, we went for lunch. There was Nick Lander. And we went to this local rustic sort of Spanish restaurant. On the way there, I get a phone call. We're packed in the car, and it's my assistant saying there's a journalist who's phoned up. I'm wanting to know your comment on on the third star. I'm packed in this car. What? She said, well, he's writing for the Evening Standard. So I called the Standard. They confirmed there was a journalist doing this article.
But you didn't know
No.
that you'd actually been awarded the third star?
No, I didn't know. Derek Brown called me. He said, congratulations, you've got the third star. And I don't remember how long the silence was, but it was broken by him saying, are you still there? I called Ashley. Ashley just literally broke down in tears and slopped onto the chair. And then we went out and celebrated that night.
What was going on in the UK then at this time?
The front cover of the Times, I did an interview with the Times journalist at the Congress.
Okay.
And he said, where does your name come from, Heston? And I said, jokingly, oh, I don't know. I was born in 1966. My parents probably had a night out, or could have had a night out in London and finished in the car park at Heston Services. So the front cover of the Times newspaper was Top Chef, or chef named after parents' love of motorway service station gets 3 stars. I spent a good year apologising to my mum, although I shouldn't have. I don't feel so bad now when I found out that when I first did Jonathan Ross, and I was about to go on to the interview, and he's calling me on stage, and Tina Fey's next to me. She's half Greek. She says, "Oh, you do know your name means on you in Greek." I'm 40. I've never heard this before in my life. So I walk on to do the interview, very discombobulated.
Okay. But you had 2 stars, you go to Spain,
Yeah.
You present all of your genius, wonderful kind of new work, you get a standing ovation, you then find out you've got a 3rd star, but the Fat Duck is running out of money.
So on the night of the 3rd star, there's a table of 4, table of 2. That's it. That's it. Without that 3rd star, and then the best restaurant in the world, which followed up from the 3rd star, and everything exploded. I mean, literally, within days, we would have closed.
It feels to me, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but what an incredible metaphor for bipolar in terms of those extremes of
definitely
the high of a 3rd star, yet this undercurrent of only a few people coming to eat in the restaurant.
Yeah. That's
really palpable.
Yes. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, lastminute.com, things that just about going, and then something like that happens. And I had no expectation of getting the 3rd star.
You get the 3rd star, then, as you say, you win best restaurant in the world, booking list for ages.
Still, that year, it took me basically a year to stop saying, I don't know why we've got it.
Do you think you're a good chef?
Yes.
That's really good to hear. We've played a few games of yes or no, Heston, while we've previously been talking. And so I thought we could play a yes or no game, which for our brains is actually quite difficult, but an amazing way of keeping things focused and clear. Are you ready?
Yeah.
If everything were to end tomorrow, would you be happy with how your life turned out?
Yes.
Would you ever create a restaurant for neurodivergent people?
Yes.
Would you ever use AI robots to push the boundaries of cooking?
Yes. I'll explain why after this. But then
You don't get to say that bit.
Oh.
Do you like sharing food?
Yes.
If you could know what other people really thought of you, would you want to know?
No.
Are you anxious?
No. Yes.
Are you scared?
Yes.
Are you hopeful?
Yes.
If you were going to find out how you were going to die, would you want to know?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll go for no. But I don't.
Okay.
Now those questions are finished. That one, I don't know, because it could mean you can then fulfill the time you've got left.
Yes.
But if it's a really painful death, no. And then the other one, I would use AI, yes, and robots for the main reason is so it can free chefs up to be. So why be a chef if all you're going to do is chop onions all day long? A robot can do that. If we don't put something being there, a human being element to it, we will then morph into the we're already morphing into the AI systems that we've created.
Just before we finish, I want to ask you a few more yes/no questions. If I could give you a pill that took away your ADHD and bipolar, would you take it?
Hook, line, and sinker. Okay. No.
Are you unpredictable?
Yes.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Yes.
I totally agree. We asked you to bring something that represents your brain.
Yeah.
And what people will be able to see is this wonderful thing called a cymoscope.
Yes.
Tell us why you chose what you chose, Heston.
I'm obsessed with water. I think it's something that we know what to do with it. We wash with it, we cook with it, we use it to heat things. It's got so many properties that are unique. I think the closest thing to water in terms of its properties, like it can exist in solid, liquid, gas, is gold. And water is kind of the mechanism, the field for which vibrations bounce back and which we connect. We connect with ourselves. We're mostly water and bacteria. And then we connect with others. And we connect with cooking. And I've done some experiments over a period of a year or so where there's a classic one, this Professor Emoto, Japanese guy.
Are you telling me about the cymoscope?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So, yes, I am. But probably going to headbutt the microphone now. Yes, okay.
Tell me about the cymoscope.
Rewind. Okay, now, a guy called John Reed, he was a sound engineer.
Here we go.
He developed a tank with like a bowl on the top. And you put water in it and you can play, if you play a violin or something, and when you slow down and zoom in, you can see the water changing its pattern. It is a piece of beauty. And it can resonates with voice. He asked me to take water into my telephone, and I had a glass of water in my hand. I did it about 10 or 12 times. And he then played that to the cymoscope and then sent me the photo and there's a moving image of me saying water to a molecule of water that has just formed the most beautiful pattern.
I mean, it's a shared fascination of ours, cymatics, pretty niche, but just absolutely stunning and beautiful and a wonderful visualization of sound, right? Yeah. Thank you so much, Heston. I'm excited for people to hear a different side of you, to hear you talking about your brain, about what it means to you, about what it hopefully can mean and should mean for other people, for hospitality, for the future of the workplace, in terms of understanding how our brains work and our moods and the good and the bad. And however weird this is to say, I feel really proud of you.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You are a public figure, and I'm not a public figure, right? So me kind of saying that I'm autistic and ADHD and I want to do something about it, it's a big reveal to me, but it's a very small reveal in the grand context of things. Whereas you are putting your head above the parapet and you're speaking up and you're speaking out because you want change to happen. And that's A, inspiring, B, really helpful, C, going to make a difference, and D, gives us this opportunity to rally behind you.
Yes.
To share your platform and be part of that.
Well, thank you. That's to hear that is still a little bit difficult to take, but it's now taken, and it means an awful lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Because I'm autistic, I think differently. And back in 2015, I wanted people to drink differently. So I created Seedlip, the world's first distilled non-alcoholic spirits. I took Seedlip from my kitchen to 35 countries and the world's best bars, restaurants, and retailers. And we did it in 3.5 years. It was wild. They're delicious. They're intriguing. They're these distilled botanical blends you can just mix with tonic or have in a cocktail. You really don't need another sickly, horrible mocktail. Check us out on seedlipdrinks.com or Amazon and let me know what you think.